The air was thick and heavy. You could feel something big was about to happen. The year was 1824. The place, Nsamanka, a small village in what we now call Ghana. This village was about to become a battlefield. The Ashanti Empire, proud and strong, stood against the British. The British Empire was huge and it always wanted more. The Ashanti, masters of their land, prepared for war. Their king, Osei Yawa Akoto, led them. He was determined to protect his people and their way of life. The drums of war echoed across the land. It was a call to fight, a promise to resist. The British, with their guns and cannons, felt very sure of themselves. They thought the Ashanti warriors were weak. They were very wrong. Everything was ready. The battle lines were drawn. The future of a nation was about to be decided. The Ashanti Empire was very powerful in West Africa. They had resisted the British for a long time. The British wanted to control more of Africa. They wanted the region's riches. Gold, wood, and sadly even slaves made them greedy. Trouble had been brewing for years. Arguments about trade and misunderstandings about each other's cultures made things worse. Earlier fights hadn't resulted in a clear winner. The Ashanti were experts at fighting in the forests. The British, used to open fields, had a hard time, but Nsamanka was different. This battle was about the Ashanti Empire's survival. Determined to protect their freedom, the Ashanti prepared to fight. They gathered their warriors, sharpened their swords, and strengthened their shields. The drums of war beat louder and louder, showing everyone how determined they were. It was time for two empires to clash. King Osei Akoto was a symbol of Ashanti resistance. He brought his people together. He was a smart leader and a good military strategist. His warriors believed in him. They were ready to die for their king and their kingdom. Leading the British was Sir Charles McCarthy. He was an experienced soldier, sure that his army was better. He didn't understand how brave the Ashanti warriors were, or how hard it would be to fight in the forests. A young British officer, Lieutenant George Maclean, was also there. He was about to see just how fierce the Ashanti warriors were, and how strong people can be even when things look bad. The sun rose high. The two armies faced each other. You could feel the tension. Everything went quiet. Then the roar began. The Ashanti warriors, with their muskets, bows and arrows and swords, charged forward. Their war cries were terrifying. The British fired back with their guns, the air filled with smoke, sweat and fear. The battle was fierce. Neither side wanted to give up. They fought for every inch of ground. Every life lost was a terrible thing. The Ashanti warriors knew the forests well. They used the trees and bushes to their advantage. They attacked suddenly, then disappeared back into the forest. The British couldn't stay in formation. They were forced to defend themselves. The battle went on for hours. The Ashanti warriors fought hard. They kept attacking, feeling like they could win. The British line started to break. They couldn't handle the constant attacks. Then something important happened. Sir Charles McCarthy was shot. The British commander was dying. The British soldiers were shocked. They started to lose hope. The Ashanti, feeling victory was close, fought even harder. Their war cries filled the air, scaring their enemies. The battle was turning in their favor. The British, without a leader and feeling defeated, started to run. The Ashanti chased them, yelling in victory. The battlefield was covered with dead bodies. The Ashanti had won, but it was a sad victory. Many of their bravest warriors were dead. Winning felt good, but it also felt sad. Many people died on both sides. The ground was covered in blood, showing the terrible cost of war. As the sun began to set, a strange quiet fell over the battlefield. The victory cries stopped. The Ashanti, tired but victorious, helped their wounded and honored their dead. The Battle of Nsamanka showed how brave and skilled the Ashanti warriors were. News of the battle spread quickly. The British, defeated, went home. Their plan to control the land had failed. This battle changed how the Ashanti and the British interacted. It showed that the British could be beaten. It gave other people in Africa hope that they could resist too. The Ashanti won at Nsamanka, but the fight against the British wasn't over. The conflict continued for years, but the memory of Nsamanka gave the Ashanti strength. It helped them keep fighting for their freedom and their way of life. The battle also taught the British a lesson. They had to change how they fought. They had to admit that the African warriors were strong. What happened at Nsamankau changed how the British government thought about their colonies in Africa. Today we remember the Battle of Nsamankau. It reminds us that even when things seem impossible, courage and bravery can win. The battlefield at Nsamankau is quiet now, but it tells a story of the terrible things that happen in war and how people resist those who try to control them. We must remember the people who fought and died at Nsamankau. We must tell their stories so that future generations can learn from them. We must never forget.